Non-special forces articles, military life articles. Li Xiu, a graduate of Peking University and an amateur celebrity, returned to the 2000s and awakened the military roll king system. As long as you enter the army for internal competition, you can gain benefits. Li Xiu, who detested the life of a programmer in his past life, decisively gave up studying at Peking University and chose to join the military, starting his career of internal competition in the military. A military champion appeared, constantly thinking about internal competition. As long as the competition did not die, it would roll towards death. Don't roll it up, your roll-up method. Comrades will cry when they see it, and instructors will have to kneel when they see it. Please don't take the exam, you are destroying the training environment of the army. Our training indicators have doubled directly. Subsequently, Li Xiu entered the military academy and caused an internal storm over a decade later. Li Xiu quickly accumulated military achievements in the army, made great progress and continued to be promoted, becoming a keywords of the novel. If you don't read Peking University to join the army, I will become an officer without a pop-up window. If you don't read Peking University to join the army, I will become an officer. Download the complete set of TXT for officers. If you don't read Peking University to join the army, I will become an officer and read the latest chapter. Chapter 1. Stop attending college and join the army. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Stop attending college and join the army. When Li Xiu opened his eyes, he found himself lying on a cold hard wooden board. The dark ground is damp and damp. Hush. My feet are so cold. Li Xiu stood up. I touched the hard bed under my buttocks, which was padded with corn stalks and had a prickly edge. Where is this? Li Xiu instinctively touched his chest, his heart beating with a thud, more vibrant than ever in his memory. It shouldn't be a underworld. Am I dead? Li Xiu remembers that he chose to submit his resignation because he was tired of the life of a programmer. Just as I left, I was hit by a mud truck and flew over 10 meters away. When I opened my eyes, I arrived at this room. Before the end of the year, the mud truck renaissance team began to grab business. Li Xiu roast. Wait a minute. I'm not traveling, but reborn. Li Xiu suddenly got up, everything in front of him overlapping with the distant memories in his mind. He quickly went to look at the calendar hanging in the corner, and sure enough, it was August 1998. His freshman summer vacation. This is his hometown. Calculate time. He performed poorly in the college entrance examination in 1997 and ranked third in the province. He was admitted to the computer science department of Peking University. Becoming a renowned exam champion in the computer science department of Peking University. After graduation, I became a programmer and also learned some red guest skills from my mentor. The detection host is awake and the military roll king system has been bound. At this moment, a mechanical reminder suddenly sounded in Li Xiu's mind. The detection host has not yet entered the army, and the system startup has failed. Li Xiu was stunned for a moment. The system is a must-have for travelers, as expected. And the system that awakened himself actually asked him to join the army. I failed to start without entering the army. Thinking of this, Li Xiu's face showed a hint of complexity. In his past life, Li Xiu was a military enthusiast. When he was a child, the seeds of joining the army constantly sprouted in his heart because he had read many military novels. However, due to his high salary, he never had the courage to go to the military. When I got old later, I missed it. Although the salary for his job was high, he stayed up late every day, which was boring and painful for Li Xiu. Now think again, become a soldier. Holding a steel gun, defending our country, how handsome. A man from a flower grower, who never thought of having a military dream. Carrying guns to kill enemies and defend the people. Becoming a military officer has a very high social status. Everyone admires. Moreover, there is a system in place. Go join the army. Anyway, Li Xiu is tired of his previous job. Instead of continuing to roll on the internet, it is better to change the track. As for the future. In the past 20 years, there have been many changes, so Li Xiu doesn't have to worry at all. The simplest way is to buy a few sports lotteries for the World Cup and earn a few rounds of startup funds. Then invest in a few shares of Maotai. Purchasing a few properties in the central city is enough for him to spend his entire life. Li Xiu now just wants to calm down and become a good soldier. If one can become an officer, their status are not comparable to money. Li Xiu is not a person with ink stains. After thinking for a moment, he had already made up his mind. Join the military, live a life completely different from your past life, and experience the scenery of the military. Experience the passion and responsibility of the military camp. However, I still have to convince my parents. Stepping out of his room, he saw a somewhat unfamiliar mud-walled tiled house. Mom Hu Fengxiang is preparing meals. My own son is a golden phoenix flying out of the mountain valley. When I return home during the summer vacation, I naturally want to give him a good meal. Your child has been admitted to a good university. Congratulations, congratulations. Oh my, Xiao Xiu, you're really impressive. You'll become a big boss in the future. University is great. I heard those girls are very handsome and smart. When will you bring one? Your mother's face will definitely shine, it's not something that we rural women can compare to. Hu Fengxiang's face was flushed with a smile that kept hanging on her face, and her originally slightly hunched body stood straight. Even after listening to these words for a year, I can't get tired of them. The emergence of college students in the village is a joyful event. Not to mention that this kid is still attending the top-notch Peking University. The last college student in the village was 4 years ago, and now he has driven a wild donkey. All day long whimpering, how impressive. Li Xiu looked at his mother with a smile on her face and a strong demeanor, but what he wanted to say remained stuck in his neck. I don't know where to start with the already prepared draft. It took me a long time to finally reach the point of food. Li Xiu is like a big star, surrounded by relatives around him. Li's father, Li Guozhong, had a rare opportunity to smoke a low-quality cigarette in front of Hu Fengxiang, with a contented expression on his face. Aunt Air started drinking the homemade Realgar wine at home, while Uncle Air enthusiastically asked Hu Fengxiang for tips on teaching children. Li Xiu looked at the crowd, took a deep breath, and took out the draft he had typed in his stomach. Everyone, I want to say something, he said as everyone turned around. Hu Fengxiang smiled and said, Xiao Xiu, if you have anything, just say it. Mom supports you. Li Xiu took a deep breath and no longer hesitated. I don't want to attend this university for now. Things always have to be faced, and Li Xiu is a very decisive person. Once he sets his goals, his actions are very firm. This statement came out. The whole scene was silent, and the sound of needles falling could be heard. What? Are you saying you don't want to get into Peking University? End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Young man, work hard, maybe you can join the honor guard. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Young man, work hard, maybe you can join the honor guard. Xiao Xiu, don't do anything foolish. How can you not go to college? I've been studying for 12 years just to get into college. How could I not get into it? Xiao Xiu, don't be impulsive. Tell mom what happened. Looking at his anxious parents and puzzled relatives, Li Xiu spoke again, I want to sign up for military service and join the army. Sign up for military service and join the army. Suddenly, all the relatives were stunned. Going to a prestigious school is not 100 times better than going to the military to endure hardship and exhaustion. What's good about being a soldier? It's tiring, the salary is low, and there's no future. Li Xiu coughed twice and said, "Dad, Mom, I used to make my own decisions and never made any mistakes, right?" Li Guizhong nodded. Li Xiu, this child, has been very independent since childhood and is also very intelligent, so they don't have to worry about anything. Going to the army is not that bad, there is competition and assessment in the army. I can still become an officer in the military examination. Wearing military uniform and carrying a steel gun, how handsome he is. The military examination, just like the college entrance examination, if you do well and can enter top military academies, you will be a top-notch officer as soon as you come out. Not only is it honorable, but the treatment is also good. Even if this road doesn't get through, I can still go back to college. I have researched and can postpone going to Jingbei University. If I don't make any progress in 3 years, I will come back to college again. Moreover, there is also a discharge fee when I join the military, which can be used as my tuition and miscellaneous expenses for the remaining 3 years of college. Veterans also receive various privileges. Mom and Dad, please believe me, both of you. I passed by with deep thought. I will be in my sophomore year when school starts next year. If I go to the military and don't get into the military officer exam, I can still continue to do it when I come back. Don't believe it, you can ask the second uncle who used to work in the military before. As long as I keep my enrollment, I can become a conscripted soldier. Uncle Air looked at Hu Fengxiang's gaze and said. Xiu'er is also right. You can take the military academy entrance exam in the army. The best military academy is even better than Peking University. If you come out, you will be an officer. If it's an officer, they have stars on their shoulders that can withstand piercing poles, they are both imposing and well treated. But in the army, life is tough. Listening to Uncle Air's description, Hu Fengxiang hesitated, and Li Guizhong couldn't make up his mind. Li Xiu also took the opportunity to say, as a conscripted soldier, it usually takes 3 years. If I don't get into a good military officer after 3 years, I will definitely come back and continue my college studies. Li Xiu was full of confidence and said, "Are you still worried about my grades? Officers' salaries are good, they have more face than top students, and they have an iron rice bowl. The retirement and severance pay is tens of thousands of yuan. Li Xiu seems to have a guaranteed victory. This also makes parents hesitant. Is it really that good? Really?" Li Xiu patted his chest. "When did your son deceive you?" Seeing Li Xiu so confident, their confidence also increased. In the end, I accepted this reality. In the army, it will be very difficult. Don't regret it, let alone become a deserter. Uncle Air said. Uncle Air is a retired veteran who also spent 3 years in the army, but did not become a sergeant. Of course. Li Xiujin finally convinced his parents and was in a good mood. The meal was heavy and heavy. Hu Fengxiang rarely moves chopsticks. Li Guizhong was even more hesitant, sipping the hot tea while the dishes on the table remained untouched. After dinner. Everyone has a heavy heart. Li Xiu is quite relaxed. I'll apply for the extension over there. There's an internet cafe in town and I need to apply there. Li Xiudao. You can register in a week. I will contact the school teachers later. Li Xiu added a sentence. Hu Fengxiang suddenly looked up and said, "So early. Have you considered it?" "It's too sudden." "I've considered it." "Mom, don't worry." Li Xiudao. Come back in 3 years, you must focus on studying. Hu Fengxiang was very serious. She still felt that Li Xiu's visit to the army was a waste of time and had no future. Go to Peking University, you can find a good job when you come out. Li Xiu breathed a sigh of relief and smiled. This can be considered as convincing my parents on my own. But will conscripts come out in 3 years? I look down on him too much. He may spend most of his future time in the army. At night. Li Xiu lay in bed unable to sleep. He has just communicated with his supervisor. Enrollment can be postponed. However, it is not very recommended. Of course, Li Xiu himself is very independent. Nature is not affected. Early in the morning, Li Xiu took his father to the enrollment office in town. Their village is very small and located in a mountain valley. If you want to sign up for military service, you have to go to the town. The conscription hall. There are many people. At this time, it is the conscription season. Many children who fail to attend school or do not want to spend their entire lives farming will choose to join the army. Li Xiu is 1.83 meters tall. Although he is thin, his face is resolute and stands out in the crowd. At 1.83 meters, he stands out among chickens in rural areas. He is 1 head taller than everyone else. Several veterans in the recruitment office of the County Armed Forces Department also lit up their eyes when they saw Li Xiu, and their smiles deepened a bit. Come join the army. Yes. Not bad, not bad. You have a good appearance, and you may not be able to join the honor guard in the future. The recruitment requirements are not high. A height of no less than 1.6 meters is sufficient. But with a height of 1.8 meters, it's popular everywhere. Honor guard, height is a mandatory requirement. Face shape, neck length, shoulder width, leg size, weight, all have indicators. The veteran's words about Li Xiu were obviously a compliment to him. You should know that once you enter the honor guard, you may not be able to see Li Xiu at the National Day Parade ceremony. That's too imposing. Li Xiulian quickly thanked him. Fill out a form and show me your ID card, the veteran continued. Li Xiu nodded and took the military application form, asking him to fill in the corresponding information on it. Are you a college student or a current student at Peking University? Did you make a mistake? The veteran looked at Li Xiu's application form and was surprised. He thought Li Xiu had filled it out incorrectly. I'm not wrong, Li Xiulian hurriedly said. I'm a student on campus and I want to enlist in the military. This is a student ID. Speaking, Li Xiu waved his student ID card in front of the veteran. Now, the veteran went from an accident to shock. You are a college student from a prestigious university who was snatched by the company after graduation, and you actually want to join the military. Is this something I can't imagine? Peking University. That's Peking University. Peking University, parallel to Xuemu. The best university in the country. The surrounding gaze also gathered on Li Xiu. Sleeping trough, isn't this Li Village's cultivator? Why did he join the army? Didn't he get admitted to Peking University? Did I read it wrong? It's really Li Xiu. What kind of stimulation is this? Even though this veteran is usually very calm, he can't help it now. Wazi, did you make a mistake? Li Guizhong was about to speak when Li Xiu rushed to say, that's right. I want to join the army and serve the people. The veteran hesitated for a second and said, actually, you can wait until you graduate from college before joining the army. The treatment of college soldiers is much better than that of conscripts. Li Guizhong also wanted to continue persuading Li Xiu, but Li Xiu smiled and said, thank you, I have already considered it. Being a soldier also has prospects, and I want to experience military life. The veteran nodded helplessly, although puzzled, there were also strange people entering the army every year. In the 2000s, although compulsory education was popularized. But they are in this remote and impoverished area. There are not many high school students either. Many of those who come to join the military have a junior high school education. In Li Village, high school education is already scarce. And Li Xiu, a college student from a prestigious university, actually wants to join the army. It's really strange. 15-year-old cute and new, seeking follow-up reading, end of this chapter. Chapter 3. Is this asking me to lead the internal competition in the army? Seeking collection, seeking. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. This is asking me to lead the internal competition in the Army. Seeking collection, seeking follow-up reading. After registration, I need to go to the county hospital for a physical examination. Upon receiving the notification, Li Xiu set off immediately. During the conscription period, hospitals have examination channels. Li Xiu held his ID card and waited in a long queue for the medical examination. Follow the signs and flow of people, and check one by one. There are many projects. There are all kinds of them. After all, the training environment for new recruits is very challenging, and not everyone can meet the standards. Urinary tests, blood tests, radiology, ear, nose, and throat tests, naked body tests, and psychological tests. Li Xiu quickly completed the task. The rest is waiting for the enlistment notice to come down. Li Xiu's physical examination is definitely not a problem. Although he studies diligently, he is neither nearsighted nor physically weak. Sports are also good, and I have even joined the school basketball team. I was called Wei Shan Luchuan Maple by the female classmates in the class. Anyway, we still have to wait. During this period, Li Xiu needs to prepare political review documents. This is not a problem. The Li family has been loyal and virtuous for generations, and my second uncle also served in the army back then. So there's no need to worry at all. However, the news that Li Xiu went to the military instead of studying these days has been widely circulated. Li village is very small, and there are no small matters at the village head. The news that Li Xiu was going to join the army quickly spread. The villagers couldn't understand at all. What kind of soldier should I join in the army? Isn't that suffering? Moreover, if we don't look forward to a bright future, why do we have to go to the army to suffer? Even several old classmates who graduated from high school together in the town came to offer condolences. In their view, Li Xiu has taken a wrong path. Only those who haven't been admitted to college become soldiers. Li Xiu was very calm and didn't explain. These days, Li Xiu hasn't been idle either. He has been listening to Uncle Air talk about some things in the army. He also has a rough outline of military life. I am also looking forward to the upcoming military life. Following that, political review, visits, military service registration. After a long process, Li Xiu passed smoothly. Finally. September 26th. Li Xiu received the enlistment notice. Now, all the preparations before enlistment have been completed. Next, we will report to the Armed Forces Department the day after tomorrow, and then allocate troops and regions. Afterwards, the troops will be awarded titles and their shoulders will be hooked, making them even soldiers. After reporting to the school supervisor, the supervisor also reluctantly sent a cheer. Ding! The task is completed. System binding successful. Li Xiu's ear once again heard the long-lost system prompt sound. In front of me, a virtual panel appeared. Host. Li Xiu, strength. 6, adult average is 6, 10 is the upper limit, host has no upper limit, reactivity. 7-inch, adult means 6, 10 is the upper limit, host has no upper limit, physical strength. 7.5, adult average is 6, 10 is the upper limit, host has no upper limit, brain power. 9, average for adults is 6, with an upper limit of 10 and no upper limit for hosts, physical fitness. 8-inch, average for adults is 6, with an upper limit of 10 and no upper limit for the host, mall. Opened, skill. None, roll king value. 0-inch, storage space. 5M lambda 3-inch, note. The host can obtain system rewards through internal competition. Internal competition can earn the roll king value, which can be used to exchange various skills and knowledge in the mall. Li Xiu was stunned for a moment, but he couldn't help it. I don't want to continue to engage in internal conflicts in the internet industry and go to the army for a new way of life. Well, the system obtained is actually an internal system, which is to let him become the king of internal conflicts. What is the king of scrolls? The most hardworking one in the same environment. Li Xiu didn't expect that even if he changed the track, he wouldn't be able to escape the curse of internal competition. Is this asking me to get involved in the army? Li Xiu was speechless. The army was already tough enough, and surprisingly, he had to fight within the army. However, the roll was rolled up. Who else can Li Xiu still be afraid of? Shouldn't you have originally become a monk through rolling? Looking at his own data, Li Xiu was still very satisfied. Except for having poor strength, everything else exceeds the average level of adults, especially in terms of mental ability, which can be said to be top-notch. After all, he managed to get into Peking University through his own efforts, and his brain couldn't be said to be inferior. The host has completed binding for the first time, and the first task reward has been issued. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the maximum physical strength enhancement card. Li Xiu was pleasantly surprised. Without hesitation, use the maximum stamina enhancement card directly. Ding! Maximum stamina plus 2". After the prompt sound ended, Li Xiu felt a hot stream flowing from top to bottom throughout his body, and then his attribute panel changed. The physical strength column has increased by 2 points directly. From 7.5 to 9.5. This level has almost reached the limit of humanity. Wipe, is your physical fitness approaching the limit of humanity? Is this the capital that the system has given me for internal competition? Li Xiu is a bit excited. Good physical strength means he has strong endurance. For him who is about to participate in the new recruit training, there are too many benefits. Originally, Li Xiu's physical strength was very good, but now he has added 2 more points. Li Xiu feels that even those military kings who have undergone long-term military training may not be able to match him in terms of physical strength. There is also storage space. Thinking of storage space, Li Xiu's eyes flashed with excitement. This thing has too many uses. Developed and useful. Not to mention anything else, I will become a soldier in the future, equipped with heavy machine guns, ammunition, and field rations, which will not take up space or weight. Just thinking about it, Li Xiu was extremely excited. 5 cubic meters is already very large and can hold a lot of things, so Li Xiu naturally won't let him idle. The food in the storage space will not be damaged or spoiled, and there is no indication of expiration. And most importantly, it does not take up space or weight. Although there is no shortage of food, it is always right to have spare parts. I can't say when I really need it. A space of 5 cubic meters must be made good use of. In the future, when there are important things that need to be carried with you, it's best to free up more space. Without hesitation, Li Xiu started preparing directly. I took a few bags of dry food and put them in half a big snake skin bag. Then he burned another bucket of water. After everything is done. Li Xiu was only curious about what kind of troops he would be assigned to in the future and where he would join the army. In this era, when serving as a soldier, it all depends on the allocation above, but there is no such thing as choosing a volunteer. What kind of soldier can be selected depends on fate. At this moment, a sound came from the ear. Brother Xiu, are you still at home? Li Xiu opened the door and saw a chubby figure charging towards him with a body full of meat, looking a bit anxious. What's wrong? Li Xiu is curious. How did this guy come? The chubby guy in front of me is Zhang Yang from the town, who runs an internet cafe at home. He is also Li Xiu's classmate. He didn't do well in the college entrance examination, so he went back to guard his own internet cafe. After the news of joining the army on his own spread, this guy even advised him. At this time, computers are rare things. Usually, people can't afford it at home. Moreover, the internet cafe fee is still very expensive, costing 4 yuan per hour. Zhang Yang comes from a luxurious family with a wild donkey, even the village chief of Li village is envious. Brother Xiu, fortunately you didn't leave. My computer has a problem. Zhang Yang was panting heavily and his face turned pale. He got up early this morning and his machine had a problem. PS 2 updates per day during the new book period. Every 2 to 3,000 words. Come back to write it, because there are a lot of roast. Because I am an outsider, I may be a little lame in order to write faster in the early stage. This book has been published in Sanjiang, and Sanjiang's books can generally be read. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Assembly of Armed Forces. Seeking Collection. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Assembly of Armed Forces. Seeking Collection. Li Xiu was stunned for a moment and said, "Can't I open the computer?" Being able to open is being able to open, which means that as soon as you open the program, the computer shuts down and the screen goes black, with English all over it. Aren't you a computer from college? Can you go to our house and take a look? Zhang Yanglian hurriedly said. Li Xiudao said, "Okay, I'll go take a look." Li Xiu did not hesitate. They are all classmates, help as much as you can. After greeting his parents, he turned around and left with Zhang Yang. Pretending to care about you and not wanting to think of you. Blame myself for not having the courage. Sitting on the wild donkey in Zhang Yang's house, Li Xiu quickly arrived at the town. Before entering the internet cafe, I heard music coming from my ear. This heart language star wish has brought ripples to Li Xiu's memories. Not listening carefully. Li Xiu saw a colorful light sign with the 4 characters, Blue Internet Cafe, hanging in the distance. At this moment, the door was crowded with people and the surroundings were also chaotic. Everyone is discussing. Boss, this should be a virus. If the computer is infected, the virus will break. Last time my family went to fix it, it cost a lot of money. Zhang Yang and Li Xiu squeezed out of the crowd. Suddenly, I saw the computer page in front of me turning into blue light. Not just one, but many. Father Zhang, his face was even more worried and he sighed deeply. The machines in this room are all his lifelines, and for some reason they suddenly don't work. Wazi, you're here. Come on, come and see what's going on. I'm using it all right, how did it turn out like this? Father Zhang has a worried expression on his face. Li Xiu nodded and immediately leaned over to look. Just a glance, Li Xiu understood. Uncle, this is a virus in the computer. Virus. Zhang Yang's face turned pale all at once. It is indeed a virus. Let me take a look again. Zhang's father quickly vacated his seat. Li Xiu is a good student and is known for his reliable work. Looking at this virus, Li Xiu suddenly had a brainstorm. Pulling open the keyboard, I clicked on it a few times, and the blue screen immediately disappeared, revealing a series of English letters. Li Xiu activated the resource manager, then searched in the file, opened the file bar, and searched for the CIHV1.2T string. In an instant, a bunch of executable file feature strings that matched the features appeared in the search bar. How's it going? Brother Xiu, can you understand all of this? Zhang Yang looked amazed beside him. Zhang's father was also extremely surprised. Li Xiudao said, "It's a virus, it should be the CIH virus. Did you use a pirated CD to download the game?" Zhang Yang looked shocked and said, "Brother Xiu, how did you know?" Tomb Raiders. Zhang Yang was even more shocked. Oh my God. Can you also know this? The passers-by next to them were also dumbfounded. Many people have already leaned in and listened attentively. This is a big shot. Li Xiu is actually very famous. Although he is in the town, some people still recognize him. Li's child. That bookworm. The one next door, Li Village, who got admitted to Peking University and wants to join the army again. Yes, it's him. I can't understand, unfortunately, otherwise after graduating from Peking University, everyone would be rushing to find a job. Now it's also amazing. Isn't this virus cracking ability of hackers? It's amazing. I just don't know why this kid can't resist joining the army. In 1998, students at Peking University focused on where to go. And the more remote the place, the more so. People around him were discussing, but Li Xiu was completely undisturbed. He just confirmed now that this computer is infected with the CIH virus. It should be infected with the CIH virus, Li Xiudao said. CIH virus, I remember last month the TV station reported that the software was infected, so we had to replace the chip. Change chips. Zhang's father suddenly showed a hint of flesh pain. He happened to have changed before. A chip costs 8 to 900. Half the second-hand ones cost 4 to 500 yuan. There are more than 10 computers that have malfunctioned. This loss is too great. Hey, pirated CDs harm people. Father Zhang's face looks very ugly. He didn't doubt Li Xiu. Everyone trusts Li Xiu as a child. They study well and are good students who meet the standards. Li Xiu is quite familiar with this virus. This virus can destroy hard disk data on computer systems, rewrite motherboard BIOS, destroy CMOS program data, and use junk data to overwrite hard disk drivers. After rewriting, the system cannot start and can only send the computer to the manufacturer for repair. This virus began to spread globally in August 1998, mainly through software and CDs, and the number of infections will reach its peak on April 26, 1999. Subsequently, on April 26 every year, there will be an outbreak. At that time, 60 million computers worldwide would suffer varying degrees of damage and destruction, causing billions of dollars in losses. Zhang Yang had a clever idea and said, "Brother Xiu, can you repair it?" Zhang's father also looked at Li Xiu with an expectant expression on his face. Li Xiu pondered for a moment. As an amateur celebrity in his past life, Li Xiu really had contact with him. CIH can be considered an outdated virus. It is not difficult to write several detoxification formulas and antivirus programs accordingly. However, Li Xiu still said, "I know a bit, but I'm not very sure." Li Xiudao. That's it. Father Zhang looked hopeful. Wazi, if you can fix it, I'll give you a reward. Li Xiudao said, "Uncle, it's not a matter of money or not. Just give it a try, don't worry about anything else," said Father Zhang. Li Xiudao said, "Okay." Although uncertain, Li Xiu skillfully opened another computer that was not infected with a virus, created an IDE-related file, and then wrote software. Everyone saw Li Xiu's hands constantly jumping on the keyboard, but they didn't dare to say a word, afraid it would affect Li Xiu's operation. The whole house became very quiet. However, they were all silently shocked. When they saw Li Xiu touching the keyboard, they felt that he was a master. Interpreting formulas and antivirus programs is not difficult. In a past life, the executives of the tech company that designed this virus were under pressure to disclose the virus's original form. Several viruses in later generations are also much more complex than CIH. Li Xiu doesn't have a scanner, but he remembers the virus itself. Write targeted antivirus programs and detoxification formulas. Li Xiu made the final modification to the code so that the content could be fully read and run. After completion, Li Xiu closed the page and connected to another computer. Quickly, as the software ran, the virus was scanned out. Li Xiu's face showed a hint of joy as he began operating the software to eliminate the virus. Subsequently, Li Xiu retested and confirmed that the virus had been completely eliminated before proceeding with system repair and vulnerability detection. Fortunately, although the hard drive data was damaged, it could still be saved. Li Xiu breathed a sigh of relief. It's easy. After more than half an hour, Li Xiu finally extracted the data, introduced the system boot disk into drive A, restored, backed up, and formatted it. Rewrite the BIOS chip code. Reinstall the system and applications. Restore the backed up data. Subsequently, Li Xiu eagerly shut down the computer infected with the virus and restarted it. A glimmer of anticipation flashed in Zhang's father's eyes. 1 minute later, the computer will start up. Li Xiu clicked on the system and retested for the virus. No CIH virus detected. Then I tested the function and everything was fine. Is it fixed? Father Zhang looked incredulous. The people around also opened their mouths wide. It's too awesome. Undoubtedly a prestigious university student, he is not outstanding in appearance, he is really a big shot. Li Xiu then said, the C drive lost 3% of its data. This virus still has destructive power. Zhang's father hurriedly said, it's okay, it's okay. Immediately, he showed a surprised expression and said, Peking University is just different. It's so amazing. He turned his head to look at his own son, feeling a bit resentful that iron cannot be turned into steel. Good reading is just impressive. Do you think Li Xiu can handle it? By comparison, my own child is simply a waste. Zhang Yang also looked admiring. Thank you so much. Father Zhang looked grateful again. Li Xiudao said, take a floppy disk and copy this software, then run it on another machine to eliminate the CIH virus. I have also included the data recovery tool in the software, just click on Recovery to complete it. Li Xiu said again. Zhang's father nodded and said, Wazi, I heard you're going to join the army. It's really difficult to become a soldier. Li Xiu smiled and said, Uncle, stop persuading me. I have received my enlistment notice. Father Zhang sighed. Okay. But I still want to thank you. Zhang's father hurriedly ran to the counter, opened the drawer, and gritted his teeth to count a few green bills. Wazi, take this money. You've saved so much money for our family, and I'm not happy if you don't take it. If you have anything in the future, just come to me. Father Zhang had a serious gaze and patted his chest. And the money has already been handed over. Li Xiu pushed it off several times and also took it back. You guys play, I'll go fix the machine. I'll have to settle accounts with that small stall selling pirated CDs when I turn around, said Father Zhang. You kid, learn more from others. Don't leave tonight, why don't you have a meal at my house? Zhang Yang said. Li Xiuyan watched as Zhang's father repaired a computer and hurriedly said, no need, my family has already made it. Can this software work? He asked Zhang's father. Can, it's very useful. You're such a smart kid, learning is still useful. Zhang's father grinned, and Li Xiu calmed down. Okay, uncle, I'm leaving. Goodbye, uncle. Speaking, Li Xiu was ready to leave. You go take them back, they have been a great help to our family. Zhang's father shouted to Zhang Yang to send Li Xiu back. Zhang Yang quickly nodded and followed Li Xiu away. After bidding farewell to Zhang Yang, Li Xiu finally took out the green ticket. A little bit, 15 sheets. It's quite generous. 15,000, quite a bit. It's only because the Zhang family has money that they can take out so much. Of course, if Li Xiu sells that software, he can earn dozens of times this number. Moreover, just by recovering the losses of the Zhang family, he is more than 15,000. However, these things have nothing to do with Li Xiu. With the money, Li Xiu didn't have any free time and bought some miscellaneous items such as backup medicine. After thinking about it, I bought 2 more packs of cigarettes. 2 days passed in a blink of an eye. Early in the morning, Li Xiu brought his personal belongings to the Armed Forces Department. Son, you haven't experienced hardship from childhood to adulthood. Be careful and don't tire yourself out. Son, your second uncle said that no one knows where you have been assigned. It's just that the army has the organization and discipline of the army, and many things cannot be taken with you. Take this 500 yuan well, and if it's not enough, ask your family for it. The army is very tough, we must be stronger. Also, don't learn to smoke. The military has heard that there is a lot of pressure, but don't smoke either. It's not good for your health. Don't learn from your father. My parents' chatter seems to be still in my ears. Li Xiu, however, stood outside the Armed Forces Department in a daze. According to the regulations of the Ministry of Armed Forces, family members are not allowed to pick up and drop off, so only Li Xiu is allowed. Looking up at the red flag dancing in the wind above the Armed Forces building, a hint of respect flashed in my eyes. Without hesitation, following the flow of people, resolutely stepped into the armed forces. At the entrance of the Armed Forces Department, there is a red line. The red line divides on both sides, with smooth and beautiful porcelain stones on one side and a flat muddy ground on the other. Taking this step is equivalent to officially shedding one's ordinary identity and becoming a soldier who can endure hardship and serve the people. New recruits reported, gather here. As soon as I entered the armed forces, I heard the heavy sound of thunder exploding in my ears. P.S. Simply burying a line is not a meaningless chapter. Let's read novels, everyone. Don't be too serious either. The author Jun is not a student in this major, and his brain is also stupid. So let's deposit your brain with me first. Thank you, big shots, end of this chapter. Chapter 5. Xia Mawei. Do you need to roll up even after running a step? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Xia Mawei. Do you need to roll up even after running a step? Li Xiu followed the sound and immediately saw a soldier in a yellow and green military uniform, with a sturdy figure, scanning the crowd with bright eyes on the nearby open space. This person is very tall, 1.9 meters tall, and his body is as straight as a pine tree. Li Xiu saw his shoulder badge, which was adorned with a golden semicircular pine twig surrounding the crossover rifle and a thin folding rod. Obviously, this is a first-class non-commissioned officer. In the Type 94 military rank system, the non-commissioned officer symbol mainly depends on the number and thickness of turns. Yi Shiguai is a first-class sergeant. A rough turn is a second-rank sergeant. One rough turn plus one thin turn, it is a third-level non-commissioned officer, and so on. 3 rough turns, it is a sixth-level non-commissioned officer, also known as a first-level sergeant. The person in front of me is a first-class sergeant, which means he has been in the army for at least 3 years. Everyone, line up. Come one by one to collect your military uniforms, bedding. Remember, from now on, these things will accompany your military career until the end. Take them for yourself, don't lose them. Everyone dared not speak up and quietly went to collect their supplies. Thank you, class monitor. When it was Li Xiu's turn, he said thank you. A non-commissioned officer glanced at Li Xiu and smiled happily, saying, "Kid, you're so clever. You know, call me squad leader." Li Xiu also chuckled and said, "Hee hee, I specifically inquired before coming. I've inquired a lot. You're clever. New recruits don't have so many crooked thoughts." Unexpectedly, in that episode, the sergeant's face changed as he said, "Hurry up and gather on the playground, what are you waiting for?" Li Xiu was not angry either. In the army, this is simply normal. The purpose is to make the new recruits aware of the concept of superiors and subordinates. To put it simply, give the new recruits a boost. Li Xiu arrived at the playground carrying his luggage and military uniforms and bedding, waiting quietly. Here, Li Xiu saw 3 sergeants with golden half-wrapped wheat ears and a thick folding rod on their shoulder badges. These 3 sergeants stood straight, their eyes sharper than those of the first sergeant. Obviously, these three are all second-class non-commissioned officers. I have been in the army for at least 6 years. And behind them, there was a second lieutenant with a pole hanging on his shoulder and carrying stars. Call the roll. The second lieutenant didn't say anything and directly counted the number of people on the list, calling them one by one. Long Army, to Li Xiu, to, ... After everyone arrived, a second-phase sergeant with triangular eyes raised his horn and said, "Change into military uniform." Everyone was stunned. Change now. Everyone has no experience of changing clothes outdoors. What are you waiting for? Can't I help you change it? The sergeant in the second phase of the triangle eye had a loud voice, which suddenly shook the eardrums of the new recruits. 3 minutes. Quick, fast, fast. The sergeant in the second phase of the triangle eye urged, "They are all big men, and there are no little girls here. If you want to change them, hurry up and change them. Don't leave any marks." Everyone gritted their teeth and began to undress and change clothes in place. Too slow. You guys have to take off your clothes and look left and right. Are you different from them? Hurry up and change. After his urging, everyone dared not neglect and quickly changed their military uniforms. Stuff your original clothes into your luggage. The second lieutenant didn't give everyone time to speak and said, "Everyone has it. Follow my command. Target train station, running forward, no whispering on the road." Train station. Everyone was suddenly startled. Even Li Xiu was stunned. Although it is not far from the train station, it is still 4 kilometers away. 4 kilometers, go for a run. Everyone is still carrying more than 10 kilograms of luggage. Is this exhausting to death? For a moment, the crowd was in turmoil. Running 4 kilometers with luggage is really abnormal. Death. Run. The sergeant scolded, "How dare these new recruits not obey the command?" Without hesitation, Li Xiu turned the direction, picked up the snake skin bag, and ran towards the direction of the train station. As soon as he ran, several soldiers around him immediately followed him. A group of new recruits, escorted and led by 1 officer and 3 non-commissioned officers, ran to the train station. 4 kilometers. Is this going to kill someone? I still have a lot of extra luggage, damn it. Li Xiu could always hear various complaints in his ear. Hurry up, what are you talking about there? The second lieutenant shouted out loud. Li Xiu instinctively increased the speed. After a while, I suddenly heard a mechanical sound coming from my ear. Roll king value +1. Li Xiu was stunned for a moment. Turning his head, he suddenly pulled other recruits more than 10 meters behind him. Li Xiugang wanted to slow down, but found that the second lieutenant and several non-commissioned officers had not spoken, so he gave up this idea. However, there were people in the army whispering softly. This person's brain is jumping. They're still running so fast for 4 kilometers. Don't run so fast, you'll definitely get tired and get down in the end. Don't say a word, maybe the officer will ask us to help him carry his luggage later. Run slowly, it's always 4 kilometers anyway. The second lieutenant and 3 non-commissioned officers did not speak either. They want these new recruits to run, mainly to test the water and give them a boost, so that they can be disciplined in the future and see if there are any outstanding talents. Li Xiu runs like this, and after a while he consumes all his energy, he won't be able to run anymore. He feels good about it. I will definitely be at the back of the team by then. They are all used to it, and every year there is such a foolish young person. As time passed, the speed of the new recruits gradually slowed down, and everyone felt like their legs were filled with lead. The soles of their feet were burning, and their calf tendons were constantly tense, causing severe pain. I can't do it. I'm too tired. I really can't run anymore. Surprisingly, there's still half left. Run slowly ahead, I don't want to fall behind. More and more people are feeling physically exhausted and their speed is slowing down. The attention of several non-commissioned officers also focused on Li Xiu. At this point, Li Xiu was already 500 to 600 meters away from the main army. From a distance, there is only a small dot left. As the saying goes, there is no comparison, no harm. Li Xiu immediately formed a contrast with the new recruits around him. Several new recruits couldn't help but curse while complaining incessantly. They no longer had the initial contempt. The difference is too obvious. This comparison is simply insulting. And does this guy have to compete in running? A few soldiers were unwilling to show weakness and chased after Li Xiu with great strides, but soon they couldn't bear it due to physical exhaustion. At this moment, Li Xiu also gasped for breath. But the farther he is from the soldiers behind him, the faster the roll king value increases. What are you hesitating about? Run at all costs. The rolling king is definitely a good thing, not to mention anything else. Li Xiu's physical strength has almost reached the human limit after being strengthened by a single strengthening card. So, while maintaining high speed, his speed did not change much, while the speed of the group of new recruits behind him became slower and slower due to physical exhaustion. The distance between the two also becomes larger and larger. The sergeants and lieutenants also felt something was wrong. Is that guy in front so physically strong? This kid, where is sacred? New barracks. It seems like a thorn in the head. A sergeant with triangular eyes in the second phase looked at the panting and shaky new recruits next to him and angrily rebuked, "What are you waiting for? Why don't you run quickly? They are all new recruits and haven't received any training. How could the gap be so big? Are you thinking that running slower can make you lazy?" End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Go to the place where the people need it the most. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Go to the place where the people need it the most. Train station. Li Xiu was sweating all over and constantly panting. After running at full speed for 4 kilometers, Li Xiu finally felt a bit tired. That's why he can run so well, just because he has enough physical strength to support it. If it were him before, he wouldn't be able to run anymore. But looking at the harvest, Li Xiu is still quite satisfied. After running a distance, I picked up 8 points worth of paper for nothing. After resting for about 7 or 8 minutes, the new recruits arrived late. Everyone's face was full of fatigue, and many new recruits knelt down directly on the ground. Tired. I'm really tired. This group of untrained new recruits is definitely putting them in a difficult position to run 4 kilometers with a heavy load. For them, it can be considered torture. Especially later on, the scholar couldn't bear to watch and even urged them to hurry up. It made them even more miserable. The 3 second-class non-commissioned officers and the second lieutenant were not fatigued, but rather energetic. At this moment, the second lieutenant did not look at the group of new recruits, but instead looked at Li Xiu. "That soldier, what's your name?" The second lieutenant's sharp gaze was like a sharp long sword. "Report, my name is Li Xiu," Li Xiu responded with a full of confidence. "Okay. I remember you now. However, as a soldier now, do not take unauthorized action." "Yes." Li Xiu grinned and quickly said yes. The second lieutenant was not in a hurry. He waited for the new recruits to slow down for 2 minutes before blowing the whistle and gathering. At this moment, there were also veteran soldiers who had been waiting here early, looking at the new recruits sitting paralyzed with a familiar feeling. The green train arrived at the station quickly, and with the organization of the veterans, new recruits boarded the train one after another. The new recruits were exhausted and immediately climbed onto the train to find a seat. Li Xiu casually found a seat and sat directly by the door. A tall and thin recruit with a face as black as if washed with squid juice also sat next to Li Xiu. The new recruits took their seats one after another, and several non-commissioned officers and lieutenants from the second phase also walked to the locomotive. However, a few veteran soldiers who came up from the rear of the locomotive restrained their serious expressions and smiled. These veterans should all be first-class non-commissioned officers, looking very kind. A person about 1.7 meters tall stood up with a friendly appearance. "All right, everyone take a good rest. This is how we all came here. After running such a long lap today, everyone must be tired. Let's take a good rest on the locomotive. When we're full, someone will bring us food. Don't waste it. Take as many as you eat. If you have anything you want to ask, you can also chat and ask. If you have any personal matters or opinions, please feel free to communicate with me. I am right at the locomotive." Listening to the caring words of the veterans, the new recruits gradually relaxed from their previous nervousness. Li Xiu knew it clearly in his heart. Compared to the harshness of the class monitors, these veterans appear amiable and easy to talk about. Obviously, there are arrangements for both relaxation and relaxation. On the train, Li Xiu also became the focal point among the new recruits. As a new recruit, Li Xiu stands out too much. That speed and stamina amazed a group of new recruits. "Big brother, your physical fitness is really good." The big new soldier opened the conversation when the old soldier finished speaking. At the beginning of his words, other new recruits also looked over. Li Xiuqian smiled humbly and said, "It's okay. I've been exercising at home before. My name is Wang Jian. My physical strength is not as good as yours." Black tall man Wang Jiandao. "My name is Li Xiu," Li Xiu replied. Across from him, a skinny single-eyelid recruit with slightly soft hair said, "My name is Guan Yu. Big brother, you've caused us a lot of trouble. You're running so fast, and that squad leader kept urging us, almost exhausting me to death. Close the roast." Li Xiu chuckled and said, "That monitor is really fierce." A few people quickly started chatting. The freshness of being a soldier filled them with curiosity about everything. However, as time passed, the freshness and enthusiasm gradually dissipated under the sound of the train whistle, and the conversation between the people gradually decreased. Everyone is tired, the space on the green train is narrow and the seats are hard, which is really uncomfortable. Those with weak bones, such as the skinny monkey like Guan Yu, constantly diarrhea midway and went to the restroom 6 or 7 times in half a day. Along the way, the green train kept going and stopping, with familiar figures constantly changing trains and new young people constantly coming up. The scenery outside the window is also constantly changing. Li Xiu saw an endless sea of golden rapeseed flowers, layers of dark green fields, the golden Gobi Desert emitting golden light, and a dense sea of dark brown coniferous forests. The sun was setting outside the car, and Li Xiu, who had slept for a while, woke up and saw that the previously heated conversation with him, Guan Yu, had disappeared. Instead, there was another young man with a simple and honest appearance, a sturdy physique, and a white face. Li Xiu has long been accustomed to it. He just wants to get off the train quickly. The 3 days and 3 nights of hard seats on the train made Li Xiu feel as if he had been put on a dog's head, and his whole body felt extremely weak. Wang Jian's face also turned pale and uncomfortable. "Li Xiu, where are you saying we're going? Why have we walked so far? We may need to go to Xinjiang," Li Xiudao said. "Xinjiang?" Wang Jian was startled and quickly asked, "Big brother, how did you know?" Li Xiu pointed out the window and said, "There is no warning sound on the car, but you can see the station sign from outside the window. Look, on that business sign, besides Chinese, there is also Uyghur." Li Xiu pointed to the distant station sign. The new recruits around were also a bit surprised and looked out one after another. Sure enough, I saw a string of Uyghur script. Of course, they couldn't understand Uyghur, but when Li Xiu spoke confidently, there was no doubt. The crowd immediately began to discuss. The hardest part of being a soldier is not only in snowy areas, but also in Xinjiang. Moreover, the environment in Xinjiang is harsh, with boundless deserts everywhere. However, everyone was also filled with excitement and anticipation. I have never been out of the province in my life. I heard that the scenery in Xinjiang is very beautiful and there are many delicious foods. Big plate chicken, mutton kebabs, baked buns, fried rice noodles. Wang Jian found it difficult to suppress his inner excitement. He talked about the delicious food, but he also talked about the hearts of the new recruits. Several people had a train meal with little oil and meat for 3 days. When Wang Jian said about the mutton kebabs and fried rice noodles, the new soldiers immediately drooled. Being a soldier in Xinjiang also has many advantages. Allowances and the like are not comparable to other regions. Li Xiudao remained silent, he didn't want to suppress the excited Wang Jian. Although Xinjiang is beautiful, it is also full of crisis behind its beauty. Although it is not as frozen as the Tibetan region, with high altitude and low pressure and oxygen deficiency, it is not easy to become a soldier in Xinjiang. In addition to facing a huge temperature difference between day and night, we also have to face the dilemma of water shortage. Combined with the dry and hot temperature, it is extremely easy to get heatstroke during training. Moreover, compared to other regions, the social phenomenon in Xinjiang is more significant. For soldiers, the pressure is greater and training is more rigorous. In such areas, high-intensity training is difficult for the average person's physical fitness to withstand. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. This soldier from Peking University. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. This soldier from Peking University. On the other side. The second lieutenant looked at the towering Gobi Desert, with memories flashing in his eyes. A few years ago, he also honed his skills in the frontier. That memory also left him incredibly profound. Zhang Pai, it's amazing. The kid you asked me to check is actually a college student. The triangular-eyed sergeant took out the new recruit information form and handed it to Zhang Pai. College students. Zhang Hanja was slightly surprised. Not many college students come out to join the military. Not only college students, but also college students from Peking University. The sergeant with triangular eyes increased his tone, his eyes full of disbelief. Now, even Zhang Hanja was surprised. This is a serious and prestigious university student. Unexpectedly enlisting in the military. Quickly took over the materials. Sure enough, I immediately saw Li Xiu's education as a freshman at Peking University. At this moment, Zhang Hanja's face changed slightly. He remembered something else. Since a groundbreaking battle in 1991, everyone has understood one thing. Modern warfare is no longer the familiar pattern they were familiar with before. The factors that truly determine the outcome of both sides are not only military strength, but also advanced technology. Modern high-tech concepts such as sea, air, and space integration, high informatization, and precise strikes have stepped onto the stage of the new era. Although Hua Guo watched the entire war from thousands of miles away, he was still shocked by this mode of war. As a result, the Chinese military's combat ideology has also begun a comprehensive transformation. We not only need good soldiers who can fight, but also high-tech talents with professional knowledge reserves. Therefore, now the military is also starting to recruit those talents, and the treatment is very good. But apart from military academies, college soldiers are still very rare. Few college students are willing to join the military to endure hardship. Of course, Zhang Hanja only expressed his feelings and did not think that Li Xiu was a high-tech talent. A young kid who only completes 1 year of college can at most be considered a smart brain. What kind of high-tech talent is he? If you come back to the military after graduating from university, there is still a saying. But no matter what, Li Xiu has been admitted to Peking University, and his brain must be very intelligent. Learning things is at least fast. Hush. I heard that Peking University requires 678 to get in. This guy can get into the National Defense Science and Technology University with this score. If he gets in, he will become an officer. The sergeant with triangular eyes clicked and sighed. However, what programming major did he study? What is programming? Chinese or mathematics? Alright, don't guess, Zhang Hanja said. This Li Xiu, brothers, please pay close attention to him. Currently, he has good physical fitness and a clever mind, making him a good soldier. Moreover, it's impossible to say that he came with a focus on the military exam. Ask his brother over there to give him more time. Yes, Zhang Pai, said the sergeant with triangular eyes immediately. After a long and bumpy journey, the train finally arrived at the station. Li Xiu and others finally got off the green train. Rubbing their sore buttocks, everyone quickly stood up. Hurry, hurry. Gather. No one is allowed to run around, take your own things and don't lose them. Inside the carriage, a sergeant shouted loudly. As soon as Li Xiu got off the car, he felt that the weather here was a bit stuffy and hot. The sun hanging by the sky seems to be closer to me than when I was in my hometown. The sun shines directly on the skin, although the temperature is not high, the irradiated skin feels a bit dry and painful. However, it is still within an acceptable range. Roll call. As soon as he got off the car, the sergeant with triangular eyes began to call the roll. Li Xiu. Arrive. The first point is Li Xiu, who quickly responded loudly. Subsequently, there was a roll call one by one. After the roll call, everyone was present and no one left. Quickly, everyone carried their luggage and boarded the troop transport truck one by one. On the troop transport vehicle, everyone also knew their destination this time. Xinjiang Military Region Steel 7th Regiment New Recruit Training Base. Over there, Li Xiu and others will undergo a 3-month training for new recruits and then be assigned to their respective companies. The space inside the car is very small, which is even more uncomfortable than taking a train. However, everyone also understood that they would soon reach their destination. In the car, various discussions about serving in the Xinjiang region always came from Li Xiu's ear. A few ghosts and spirits talked about girls from Xinjiang. I heard that girls from Xinjiang are so beautiful. Full of exotic charm, they are all great beauties. It would be great if we could get to know each other. Before the start of their military career in Xinjiang, many people had already developed fantasies. However, Li Xiu reminded, you guys have a good idea, but I checked the information beforehand. As a conscripted soldier, it's not possible to date the little girl at the station. What? And this rule? The ghostly new recruit had a look of disappointment on his face. After a moment, he laughed again and said, when I become an officer, I should be able to do it. Who can control me then? Wang Jiandao said, what does it have to do with whether you are an officer or not? Li Xiu didn't speak up, just say a word, there's no need to disturb others' interest. Moreover, there are exceptions to dating. A few people chatted incessantly, but time flew by quickly. The troop transport vehicle was bumpy all the way, and 2 hours later, it plunged into an endless desert. After arriving at the training base for new recruits in the Steel 7th Regiment, the personnel transport vehicle slowly stopped. New recruits. Here we go. Hurry up, everyone come and give us a hand. Outside the door, a solid voice came from. Subsequently, the door of the troop transport was opened, and at the rear of the car, several veteran soldiers greeted the group of new recruits with smiles. Come on, slow down, all your luggage is taken with you. Be careful. Is there anything disgusting? I have plastic bags here. Taking the train for so long, suffering. Staying on a green train is already very uncomfortable. Unable to resist motion sickness and vomiting, it's normal. The veteran didn't make things difficult for them. At this moment, there was no extra time to be stunned, and a whistle quickly came to my ear. Let's gather here and prepare to divide into classes. A lieutenant, blowing his whistle, shouted for new recruits to gather and divide into teams. Li Xiu, arrive. Shi Zhuang. To Xiaoshan, to the veteran is constantly shouting the names of the new recruits in the new barracks. Anyone who calls their name, first shout yes and then line up with their luggage. One class, 10 new recruits. Adding the veteran squad leader, there are a total of 11 people in one class. 90 new recruits were divided into 9 classes. There are 3 classes in a row, divided into 3 rows. Li Xiu was assigned to Class 2, and the class monitor was also familiar with it. It's that fierce-looking triangular-eyed sergeant. Li Xiu also knew the name of their class monitor. Surname Jiang, name Anping, from southern Hunan. Wang Jian was assigned to the first class, but the new recruit who later sat opposite Li Xiu was assigned to the same class as Li Xiu. After Jiang Anping led everyone to the dormitory, he said, "Pack up and go to the cafeteria for dinner later. The cafeteria is not far from here. Just turn left when you go out. Remember. When eating in the army, don't waste, never waste. If it looks good, can you ask for a ticket?" End of this chapter. Chapter 8. The End of Food Waste, Self-Introduction. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. The End of Food Waste, Self-Introduction. Everyone packed their luggage and followed Jiang Anping directly to the cafeteria. On the way, Li Xiu also learned that Jiang Anping was originally the deputy squad leader of their company, but was temporarily transferred from the company to the new army company and became the squad leader of the new barracks, which can be considered as Li Xiu's direct superior. Li Xiu paid close attention to this class monitor, who had a somewhat fierce appearance. At present, Li Xiu's impression of this class monitor is that he is vicious, serious, and meticulous. Li Xiu is not familiar with the rest. The cafeteria is indeed a very simple welcome noodles, paired with a spoonful of braised pork with minced meat and oily smell. Although it looks simple, it tastes very delicious. Uncle Li Xiugan has inquired about it. Get on the dumpling and get off the bus, the iron camp and flowing soldiers. The first meal in the barracks was all about eating welcome noodles. Arriving at the cafeteria, Li Xiu quickly saw a captain standing on the platform, looking at a pile of new recruits without any airs. "Comrades, hello everyone. I am Shi Jianxiong, the commander of our steel company's new recruits company. It's getting late, so I'll just briefly say one thing. Why are we here? And what are we doing? The military camp is like a melting pot. Various people from all over the world are put together, melted into a mold, and finally left behind a collective name, soldier. Once you join the new recruits company, you will first be a piece of iron. During these 3 months in the new recruits company, we will melt you into a soldier. In the next 3 months, this will be your home. This bowl of car noodles has several meanings. First, I wish everyone a long gathering. Second, I wish everyone a good rest. The noodles are like sleeping, and I hope everyone can have a good night's sleep tonight. When it comes to sleeping, Shi Jianxiong's face seems to have a deeper smile. Let's eat together, I won't disturb you. Shi Jianxiong has a loud voice and speaks very briefly. As soon as you come and go, it only takes 3 minutes. After speaking, he stood up and left. Several new recruits who were in the same class as Li Xiu sat together to eat and quickly applauded. Everyone open up to eat, this braised pork is all big fat, it tastes delicious. The noodles are also full, enough. The veteran cook shouted at the new recruits. Li Xiu quickly got up and filled himself with another bowl. Li Xiu had a great meal of welcome noodles. Perhaps due to hunger, Li Xiu ate 3 large bowls and his stomach was warm. I drank it clean with soup and water. However, when preparing to put the dishes, Li Xiu saw many people gathered in the distance. Li Xiu hurriedly walked over, only to see a new recruit in the distance at the swill bucket, looking at the few noodles inside the bucket and feeling lost. And around him, there was a constant gaze fixed on him. "Who is your squad leader? I didn't tell you, can't the army waste food?" A veteran stared at the new recruits and asked in a questioning manner. The new recruit was so scared that his legs were weak and his face turned even whiter. "I forgot." His voice was very low. He was too hungry just now and suddenly became too hungry, forgetting the class monitor's advice. At this moment, a tall figure hurriedly rushed over from the side and saw the leftover noodles in the swill bucket, which were as heavy as water. "Qianlong, your soldiers didn't finish their noodles and poured them into a bucket," Jiang Anping squeezed through the crowd. After hearing this, Qianlong's face turned black. "I don't pretend to be garlic." Jiang Anping has taken out noodles from the swill bucket and placed them on the table. Many new recruits trembled and looked at the noodles with a slightly unpleasant expression. At this moment, Li Xiu also regained some consciousness. No wonder Jiang Anping took it so seriously just now. This thing is too scary. To waste food, you have to take it out of the swill bucket and eat it. At this moment, Li Xiu couldn't help but feel a bit nauseous. And although Qianlong's face was ugly, he also followed the rules of the army. Taking a deep breath, he said, "All the new recruits, come over to me too. I believe your class monitor has also warned you before not to waste food. So now, let me remind you one last time. Don't waste food. Our army's rule is that if there is any waste of food, either the squad leader will take the leftover food out of the swill bucket and eat it, or the entire company will go hungry together. I didn't manage this soldier well, it's my responsibility. I'll eat this noodles." Speaking, Qianlong directly scooped out the leftover noodles from the swill bucket and stuffed them into his mouth. Fortunately, this time it was the first day of the cafeteria's opening, and there was a slightly braised noodle oil soup in the swill bucket. However, psychological factors alone are enough to make people nauseous. Although Qianlong's face was ugly, he gritted his teeth and finished eating. After finishing, he said to the new recruit, "For the next month, every time I train, you give me an extra kilometer to run. Every time I run, I shout the slogan, 'It's shameful to waste food,' to me. Remember, let the new recruits who are training hear you while running." Qianlong Dao. The new recruit's face was as white as paper, nodding repeatedly. Lips wriggling. "Class monitor, yes, sorry." Qianlong said, "Are you looking like a soldier now? Damn it, with a woman." The new recruit immediately understood, stood up, and loudly said, "Captain, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, this new recruit is sincere. He is also filled with regret. And you, too. Remember one thing for me. It's shameful to waste food." Qianlong turned to the crowd and said, "Yes." At this time, the impression it left on the new recruits was too deep. That swill. In the future, who dares to waste? At 10:30 p.m. New recruits from the same class returned to their dormitories in groups of 3 to 5. Along the way, they were all discussing about the cafeteria. Sleeping trough, that Qianlong is really a ruthless person. Bully. This class leader is too daring. In the future, I will never dare to waste food again. When they returned to the dormitory, everyone sorted the beds according to the identity tags on their respective beds and cabinets. One dormitory, 10 soldiers, but the dormitory is very large, and everyone can get 2 cabinets and a table, so there's no need to worry about not having enough space. At this moment, Jiang Anping also arrived at the dormitory and looked at the people who were making beds, saying, "Tomorrow, it can be considered your first day officially entering the camp. You can rest in peace first, don't worry about anything else. I'm here to introduce myself to everyone. Each person takes 1 minute to get to know themselves. I'll give you a sample first. My name is Jiang Anping, from southern Hunan. I am 1.67 meters tall and weigh 62 kilograms. I am a second-class sergeant with a 7-year military service experience. My strengths include marksmanship and armed-off-road skills. As he spoke, he pointed to a soldier by the door and said, "You start first, remember to add your education, why join the army?" The new recruit by the door is a man with double eyelids, with a typical Qilu man's appearance. He is tall and muscular. When it was his turn, he didn't have any stage fright and said, "My name is Qin Shanfeng, from Qilu. I am 1.8 meters tall and weigh 70 kilograms. I have a junior high school education and strong skills." Speaking, Qin Shanfeng showed off his muscles. Jiang Pingyan nodded and took out his notebook to record. Zhao Lei, from Behe province, is 1.73 meters tall and weighs. Education. High school. Li Dazhuang. 1 class, 10 people, introduce themselves one by one. Finally, it's Li Xiu's turn. Jiang Anping's gaze finally fell on Li Xiu in the corner, with a hint of seriousness in his eyes. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Li Xiu's self-introduction. Is there a stinger in the second row? You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 9. Li Xiu's self-introduction. Is there a stinger in the second row? Li Xiu didn't have stage fright and said, "Li Xiu, a native of Qilu, is 1.83 meters tall and weighs 73 kilograms. He has a bachelor's degree and is skilled in computer science. Undergraduate degree." Jiang Anping said, "I saw your application form, from Peking University." Jiang Anping's words immediately drew everyone's attention to Li Xiu. A college student from Peking University. Joined the army. All the new recruits present were shocked and looked at Li Xiu one after another. Is this guy a top student? Everyone's eyes changed. In this era, undergraduate education represents both the future and the future. Not to mention Peking University. It's really strange. Zhao Lei, who was also very tall, but much stronger than Li Xiu, said, "I heard that when college students join the army, they become officers." Jiang Anping shook his head and said, "That's a military academy. Although Peking University is the best school, it's not a military academy either." Jiang Anping explained a sentence. University graduates who join the military can be selected as officers and have more opportunities to become non-commissioned officers. But Li Xiu kept his university enrollment to join the military, which is different from that situation. In situations like Li Xiu's, the advantage of joining the army is that the selection process will be more relaxed. The remaining advantages are not significant. Li Xiudao didn't hide anything and said, "Yes, I'm from Peking University, majoring in programming." "Well, why did you come to the army?" Jiang Anping said a question that everyone was interested in. Zhao Lei, the big guy, had some gossip and said, "Can it be that he was hurt by love?" A unit that I couldn't think of for a moment. "I heard there are many bad women outside." Jiang Anping suddenly looked at Zhao Lei and scolded, "Shut up, did I let you talk?" Zhao Lei was startled. Jiang Anping continued, "This time, I didn't tell you beforehand, so I won't punish you. In the army, when asked by superiors, everyone should stand honestly. If there are any problems, report them. Do you understand?" Zhao Lei quickly nodded. Jiang Anping stared again. Zhao Lei then exclaimed loudly, "Yes." This time, the new recruits had a very deep impression of Jiang Anping. This class monitor is too aggressive. Li Xiudao said, "Report, the computer is too convoluted, and I don't want to be a programming ape. The most important thing is, my childhood dream was to become a glorious soldier." Roll. What is that thing? Jiang Anping thought what dialect the scroll was and didn't ask in detail. But Jiang Anping understood the following sentence. Jiang Anping said expressionlessly, "You have courage. Joining the army without studying at Peking University is indeed courageous. But you're too foolish, why don't you go to military academy? You'll come out as an officer. Li Xiu smiled and said, starting with private soldiers, you can also become an officer. Jiang Anping didn't comment much, he felt that Li Xiu was too naive. How could being an officer be so easy? At least they all need to have some merit. In times of peace, making military achievements can be too difficult. I understand computers, and I can report you to the information department. If you have the ability, you have the opportunity to be selected as an information soldier. Jiang Anping briefly said something. Before Li Xiu could speak, Jiang Anping continued, you guys, start the formal training the day after tomorrow. I'll leave one day for you to adjust. Finally, let me say one more thing. Being a soldier here is different from other places. We use water, it's difficult. We need to transport it back from 30 miles away using a water truck. So, some soldiers living in the south don't think about taking showers every day for now. But that doesn't mean you can avoid hygiene. Washing hands, wiping the face, brushing teeth, and washing feet every day are all necessary. Moreover, wasting water is as shameful as wasting food. Although there are no regulations in the army, let me see that the first one can't spare you. The new recruits quickly shouted. Yes. After speaking, Jiang Anping left directly. It was already early and he didn't nag about internal affairs, so he left directly. As soon as he left, the atmosphere in the dormitory became lively. Sleeping in bed, Big Brother is really amazing, Zhao Lei was the first to approach Li Xiu. In Huaxia dialect, the two most frequently used words were all used at once. Big Brother, how much did you score in the college entrance examination? Zhao Lei looked curious. Just over 608. Li Xiu said calmly, but that's all in the past tense. When we come to the army, we are all starting from the same starting line, all new recruits. I am the same as everyone else. The new recruits suddenly felt a little closer to Li Xiu. Chen Shanfeng also said, we are from the same province, so please take care of us more in the future. Okay, Li Xiu nodded slightly. Chen Dazhuang and another soldier with chestnut heads also came over to chat. However, it's also getting late. After chatting for a while, everyone went to wash up and prepare to sleep. In 1998, there were not many mobile phones. The new recruits didn't feel homesick when they first arrived, but instead were full of curiosity about everything. Li Xiu lay in bed and called up the system panel. Open them all and take a closer look for a while. This is his source of motivation. There are really many good things that can be exchanged in the system mall. From skill talent to technological knowledge. Most of them are related to the military. However, his rolling king value is not enough, and there are not many good things to choose from. 8-point roll king value, which can be exchanged, is some basic new recruit skills. For example, taking a step forward, using a special command, folding blankets, standing in a military posture, stopping and turning techniques. Although these looked good, Li Xiu's attention was focused on another item. Strength, agility, mental, physical. Enhancement card. Can enhance 2 points of strength. Exchange. 500 rolls of king value. This thing, Li Xiu has used it before. Weakened version of Deep Blue. It can directly improve his physical fitness, and even help him break through human limits and become a little superhero. Li Xiu truly experienced the benefits brought by strengthening his physical strength, which can be said to be explosive. However, the price of the 500-point roll is too high for Li Xiu to afford. In the platoon leader's dormitory. Zhang Pai, this is Li Xiu's self-introduction. Can you take a look? Zhang Hanja took the leather notebook recorded by Jiang Anping and looked at it before saying, there's no problem with the answer. Alright, don't pay too much attention. It's just a new recruit. Isn't there still a spike in the second row? Zhang Hanja put down his leather notebook and said, Wang Jun. This cowardly soldier just arrived at the dormitory and had a fight with another new recruit. He was fined to run 10 kilometers. Not only did he persevere, but he also took the initiative to run an extra 5 kilometers. This physical condition is rare. Now, he has become famous directly. Even the instructor just rushed over. Jiang Anping followed Zhang Hanzha's words and said, "It's a thorn in the head." But his physical fitness is not bad. Unfortunately, it was picked up by the second row. Pungent, not easy to carry, but also a good soldier model. Many military kings were once thorns. By honing in a furnace, there is always a chance to become successful. On the other side. While sleeping, Li Xiu's heart swelled and he covered himself with an extra layer of military coat. The most famous thing in Xinjiang is to wear leather jackets in the morning and gauze in the afternoon. The temperature difference is large, and the temperature is low at night. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Unroll. Do you still know how to press the blanket in advance? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Unroll. Do you still know how to press the blanket in advance? Of course, Li Xiu also mentioned to his roommates, but they didn't care. What Li Xiu is thinking is right. In the latter half of the night, especially in the early morning, the temperature drops sharply. The army issued a total of 1 military blanket, and Li Xiu covered it with an extra layer of military coat. Although it was a bit hot when I first covered it, I felt comfortable later in the night. The next morning, when Li Xiu woke up, he saw the soldiers in the same dormitory trembling, and Zhao Lei even had a runny nose and put on a military coat. In Xinjiang, it's dark at night and even white at night. The standard daily routine for local soldiers is to go to bed and rest at 12 o'clock and wake up at 8 o'clock. At around 7 o'clock, it was already dawn outside, which was the coldest time of the day. I'm freezing to death. It was a bit hot last night. Why was it so cold in the morning? I knew I had heard what Li Xueba said. When someone is a Xueba, everything they say must make sense. I even kicked on the blanket yesterday, it really woke me up. Li Xiu got up and immediately started tidying up the bed and shoes. Li Xueba, the class monitor, said someone is coming to check today. Li Dezhuang looked at Li Xiu making the bed and was puzzled. Since Li Xiu mentioned that he was a student at Peking University before, he has gained this nickname. Li Xiu looked at the prompt in front of him that the rolling king value was increased by 1, and casually evaded, "I'm used to it. Folding the blanket makes it comfortable for me to see." Zhao Lei suddenly didn't care, didn't check, wasted time folding what blanket. Li Dezhuang also spread the quilt and didn't fold it anymore. Jiang Anping woke up early, with empty bunks and neatly stacked military blankets, like tofu chunks. New barracks, squad leader and new recruits lived together. However, last night Jiang Anping came late and turned off the lights, so everyone didn't care. At noon, Jiang Anping returned and took the new recruits around the new barracks, explaining many precautions. On this day, although it was a day of rest, Jiang Anping followed by his side, but everyone always felt uncomfortable and couldn't play. In the afternoon, Jiang Anping was also not in the dormitory, which was the free time for the new recruits. Li Xiu actually wished that Jiang Anping could leave quickly. Let those new recruits lay the eggs so that he can open the roll and gain more roll king points. In the afternoon, Jiang Anping finally left again. A group of soldiers from the neighboring class came together at the same time to form a friendship, and several new recruits who knew how to play cards started playing games together. Li Xiu naturally wouldn't give up the good opportunity of involution and started practicing folding blankets. Although inexperienced, at least I got started and became a little familiar with it. The quilt is very soft and doesn't have a shape when folded, it needs to be repaired. Li Xiu is quite patient, and he is willing to do more of this kind of work as he has a record of the king's worth. If we can gather enough 500 points to buy a brain enhancement card, isn't it a safe Einstein? After waiting for an hour to stack, Li Xiu put away the blanket, sat on it, and began to press it up. At the beginning, both the quilt and the mattress were soaked, so it was impossible to stack tofu pieces with such a quilt. It must be compacted before it can be stacked. At night, Jiang Anping dragged a large storage box to the dormitory. A few new recruits were playing cards in full swing, feeling a bit timid as they watched Jiang Anping come. Jiang Anping didn't get angry, he just said, "Don't panic. I told you today is a day off. I'm here to ask you to open your suitcases and put in any illegal items. And the cards you're holding are the same. No one is allowed to take it. On the day off, I will send it to you." Upon hearing these words, the new recruits breathed a sigh of relief and silently returned to their beds, starting to open their suitcases. There are also snacks and the like, either finish them today or submit them. Especially smoking, new recruits are not allowed to smoke in their first year of service. Once discovered, you guys will suffer. Jiang Anping rarely smiled, but this time he showed a meaningful smile. Li Xiu raised his eyebrows slightly, but he didn't take the initiative to submit it. Rules are dead, people are alive. If one follows the rules, then what subjective initiative should they talk about? He has storage space, and Jiang Anping will never be able to find it, so he naturally won't take the initiative to submit it. Alright. You'll officially start training tomorrow. Get ready. I will first deliver the storage box to the instructor. Speaking, Jiang Anping took out the storage box. Hey, I really want to have another round. It's really uncomfortable not finishing that one. Me too, time flies so fast, it's quite satisfying to think about officially starting military career tomorrow. I heard you're going to learn how to stack tofu cubes. I've already started looking forward to it. Turn off the lights on time at 12 o'clock, and the new recruits in class 2 quickly fell asleep. As a soldier, internal affairs are fundamental. Every rule in internal affairs, you have to remember it to me. I don't care what method you use, you must rot in your mind. If you can't memorize it, don't blame me for being impolite. Early in the morning, Jiang Anping pulled out his already folded blanket and said, "Just stack it according to my standard. I will only hand it over to you once, you must remember it well." Folding blankets, 3 parts on top, 7 parts on top, Jiang Anping talked about the precautions for folding the quilt while spreading it out again. He then continued to do so, folding it for only 3 minutes before reluctantly folding it into tofu chunks. Give you 20 minutes, in 20 minutes, come find me to check. After Jiang Anping finished speaking, everyone quickly separated and began to take action. Folding a blanket is not difficult, but the difficulty lies in creating smooth tofu chunks. Especially the new quilt, the cotton is very soft, and the edges and corners are always soft and collapsed. For new recruits, it is even more difficult. What's going on? Why does my folded blanket always collapse? This blanket is too soft to stand up no matter how it is folded. The corners are not aligned and need to be stacked again. Class monitor, can I do this? Zhao Leixing shouted in a rush. Jiang Anping walked over, glanced at it, and said, "What have you stacked into a pile? So ugly, is it okay for me to see it? This corner, isn't it collapsed at the back? It's wrinkled. Fold it again." Jiang Anping only glanced at him and gave him a stern reprimand. The new recruits were also accustomed to this squad leader with a bad temper, and Zhao Lei did not refute it. Instead, he honestly began to scatter the blankets and fold them up again. At this moment, Li Xiu also raised his hand and said, "Report, I've finished folding." Jiang Anping turned his head and saw Li Xiu raise his hand, frowning. Why are these new recruits so restless? It has been said that according to his standards and requirements, everything. Jiang Anping saw Li Xiu's blanket and suddenly his eyes lit up. On Li Xiu's bed, the military green blanket was quiet and neat. Although there are still slight flaws in the edges, they are already very perfect. Jiang Anping quickly rushed over and carefully touched it. His face changed and he said, "Do you still know how to pack the blanket in advance?" End of this chapter.